Ivan. Ivan gets to me first. Bob! He knuckle walks up the hill, knuckle runs, actually, and he looks as glad to see me as I am to see him. It seems like I've known Ivan forever, and yet every single time I see him, I feel kind of odd. He's so powerful, so huge, like this magnificent silver mountain that just happens to be my best buddy. Hi, Ivan, Julia calls, waving. He cocks his head and makes a soft belch, which is gorilla for I'm happy. Maya calls out to Julia from the door to the gorilla's indoor space. Maya is a zoologist, which is a hoity-toity way of saying she has a thing for animals. It was Maya and a lot of other good folks who helped get Ivan and the rest of the mall animals moved to better places. Julia unhooks my string and gives me a stern look. No funny business, you, she says, and then she kisses me on the head, and stay out of sight. Ivan sidles up as close to the stone wall as he can get. I was worried you wouldn't come today, he says, weather and all. Another hurricane, I say. It's freaking everybody out. Above me, magnolia branches sway, leaves rustle and shiver. Even the trees seem uneasy. What's new? Ivan asks. He lies back on the grass and wriggles contentedly, scratching an itch, no doubt. Not much. Had a weird dream last night. I pause. You were in it, and me, and Ruby, and Stella, too. Ivan gazes at the darkening sky. Stella, he says, now there was a great friend. Classiest elephant you'll ever hope to meet. The best, I agree. I miss the old gal. We fall silent. All good with you? I ask after a moment. No point in dwelling on sad stuff or bad dreams. Kenyani's getting on my nerves a bit. Ivan do this, Ivan do that. But she means well. Kenyani is Ivan's lady friend. Girlfriend? I've never been sure what they call it in gorilla. Kenyani doesn't really approve of me. She thinks I'm a bad influence on Ivan. I like to think she's right. Ivan is 400 pounds of pure power, but Kenyani is 400 times scarier. Trust me, I've seen her in a bad mood. I've also seen her teeth. Makes mine look like toothpicks. Ivan and Kenyani don't have kids, but there are a bunch of baby and juvenile gorillas hanging around. When they call him Uncle Ivan and she puts up with their antics. Ivan's always been a good sport. If I had a gorilla toddler hanging off me, I'd be tempted to use my toothpick teeth. Marriage. Ivan and Kenyani are a lot like George and Sarah, as far as I can tell. They grumble, they cuddle, they help each other, they tease each other. Sometimes it looks pretty nice. Still and all, when I smell love, I almost always smell worry. Seems like they're tangled together so tightly they'll never unravel. There's a reason I avoid all that mushy stuff. One big difference I have noticed between the two couples, Ivan and Kenyani enjoy eating bugs off each other. George and Sarah, not so much. Tiny but tough. Ivan always seems like nothing scares him, not even Kenyani, who scares the heck out of me. On the outside, I suppose that's how I look too, tiny but tough. But inside, well, sometimes no matter how hard I try, I can't find that guy. I can't find that guy to save my life. It's like he's cowering in some corner of my heart. I hate it when that happens. I hate that I'm not the guy my friends think I am, the guy the world expects. I keep waiting for things to go bad on me, worrying that my nice, tidy little dog life will blow up in my face. I think George is a worrier too. He'll get up in the middle of the night and head to the kitchen sometimes, his old slippers scuffing on the wooden floor. I always hear him, always join him. When he opens the fridge, the light spills out like maple syrup on a hot pancake. Wonderful scents drift my way. Leftover meatloaf, stinky cheese, expired yogurt that someone might as well eat, and it seems like the dog is the safest bet. The smells rain around me, and yeah, my tongue starts hanging out, and I nudge George's PJ'd leg. You can't sleep either, huh? He'll say, or maybe, I can't tell if you have insomnia or just a very acute sense of smell. Both, actually. I wait. He usually makes himself a PB&J with banana, which is good with me because the crusts are where you really get the fun chew factor going. Now and then, after we eat, we sit on the back porch and George scratches my ears, especially my right ear. It's my favorite. I understand his worry. I think George works so hard. His wife was really sick for a long time, and he loves his daughter so, so much. Sometimes when Julia climbs on the school bus, I'll watch George watching her. All that caring and concern is painful to smell, especially the briny scent of the stray tear he'll flick aside with the back of his hand like a sea spray. More than once, George and I have dozed off together. That's the best kind of snooze, if you ask me. Good, warm, and safe in someone's arms sleep. Not talking. Often when I'm with Ivan, we don't even bother talking. We just look out at his domain, at the green grass and the crazy babies and the swaggering juveniles and the hard-working females, and we think of nothing and everything, And when you've been through the worst with someone, you appreciate the best. And that's why sometimes when he says, "Hey, Bob," it's enough for me to say, "Hey, Ivan," and then we just listen to the palm trees rustle and watch the sawgrass sway. Brave. Once when we were still at the mall, I told Ivan how brave I thought he was, the way he put up with everything that had happened to him and never stopped being a good guy. Ivan just looked at me, cocked that big old head of his, nodded a bit. "That's not brave, Bob," he said finally. "That's just knowing what I can't change." "I call it brave," I said. "I call it crazy brave." Ivan held a browning banana up to the light like it was the most beautiful thing he'd ever seen in his long gorilla life. I wondered whether he was going to eat it or draw it. You never know with Ivan. "Seems to me there are lots of ways to be brave, Bob," he said. A tiny mouse named name of Eek skittered across the cage floor. "Hey, Eek," said Ivan. "Just checking for crumbs," he said nervously, because she always sounded nervous. "Dibs on all leftovers," I reminded her. She looked up. She looked so terrified that I relented. "Over there, behind the tire, old Carrot Top." "Respect, Bob," she said, scampering off. "Take a small creature like Eek," said Ivan. He scratched his chin with the end of the banana. He did that when he was in a philosophical mood. Maybe brave for a mouse is different from brave me or brave for you. He looked at me fondly. "You're the bravest dog I know, pal." "I ain't brave." I chewed on my tail, avoiding his gaze. "You are, Bob, untamed and undaunted," said Ivan, and he chomped off a hunk of banana. He offered the rest to me, but I shook my head. I wasn't feeling hungry. Also, it was mostly just peel. "That's just my shtick, my routine." I hesitated. "I mean, sure, I'm tough, compared to, say, Eek, but that's setting the bar pretty low." "You're too hard on yourself sometimes, Bob." I met his eyes. He has these dark brown, deep-set eyes, really kind ones. Eyes that make you want to admit things, confess your failures. "Once when I was little, just a pup, I did something." Ivan waited patiently. Ivan is the king of patience. "I felt myself dashing into a dead-end tunnel I couldn't escape. I didn't want to go there, not even with Ivan." "Never mind," I yawned. I do that when I'm anxious. I'm rambling." "Bob," Ivan said, "you okay?" "You know me, Ivan. I'm okay. I'm always okay. Always." I slipped away before he could ask me anything more. Ruby. "Uncle Bob!" Ruby races over, galump, galump, across the broad field that's part of the elephant domain. She's so cute when she runs, like she's determined not to trip on her trunk. Ruby adores me. I make her laugh, I read the room, I lighten the mood. I got to admit, I am kind of adorable. When I'm with Ivan, I think, "Pal, we've been through a lot, you and me. We are survivors." When I'm with little Ruby, I think, "Girl, look at you. Hard luck passed, and here you are, so much happier, so loved." Ruby, like Ivan, was plucked from Africa as a baby. She ended up in a circus that went bankrupt, then got shipped off to Max Mall. Ruby was taken in by dear old Stella. When Stella passed away, Ivan stepped in to play. Well, elephant dad, I guess. I did my part too, not 'cause I felt like I had to. It just made life easier. Elephant toddlers are a handful. You think humans are bad? Try putting 200-pound baby elephant in timeout. Ruby's family. Little Ruby seems much more content at the park, surrounded by her new herd. Old and young and in between, they spoil that adorable pachyderm like you would never believe. She deserves every minute of it. Kid had a rough start. Seems elephants hang out in packs of females. Now that she's at the park, Ruby has adopted sisters and aunts and grandmothers galore. In the wild, the elephant guys head off once they're old enough to do their own thing. Sometimes I lose track of who's who among the elephants because they're always taking mud baths, scrambling their smells. By the way, what kind of animal actually likes baths? Mud, sure. Ivan's art. "How's it going, girl?" I called to Ruby as she stopped near the moat edging the wall. "I had cantaloupe for breakfast, Uncle Bob, and it was yummy, and then I took a mud bath." She pauses to take a breath. "Do you want to hear a new dog riddle, Uncle Bob?" "Of course I do," I say, and I catch Ivan's amused glance. "What kind of dog is always on time?" asked Ruby. "Hmm, you got me, Ruby. I'm totally baffled, befuddled, bewildered. What kind of dog?" "A watchdog!" Ruby exclaimed. "Watchdog. Get it, Uncle Bob?" "Not bad, Ruby. Not bad at all," I say. "Ivan says it's going to rain buckets," said Ruby. She dips her trunk in the moat and blows bubbles there. "I think Ivan is onto something here." "Did he show you his new picture?" Ruby asks. She grabs a tuft of grass and tosses it in the air. I wish I could see it, but I can't because of that silly wall. But he told me about it. My pal Ivan is quite the artist, just like Julia. Ivan sits up and nods towards a spot on the wall. Another mud mural, I ask. As any good dog knows, dirt plus water equals mud, and mud means mess, and mess means let's roll in this stuff and maybe dig a hole or 2 or 10. But for Ivan, mud plus a flat surface equals a waiting canvas. I crane my neck, edging a bit farther down the top of the wall. Don't want to draw attention to myself. Hey, nice, I say. I mean, I'm not an art guy. To me, art is a glop of spray cheese on a cheese dog with extra grated cheese on top. Still, I've always admired Ivan's work. It's, Ivan begins. No, I say, don't tell me, let me guess. You always guess wrong, Ivan says. Not always. You thought my palm tree was a dandelion. Art is in the eye of the beholder, I say. You thought my blackberries were giant ants. Kenyani ambles up to join the conversation. And need I remind you that you thought the portrait of me was a chimpanzee with gas? The resemblance was striking, I say. Kenyani glares at me. She glares at me a lot. On the subject of chimps. Probably I shouldn't have mentioned the chimp angle. Gorillas aren't as open-minded as dogs. A lot of them have a thing about chimps, think they're clowns. But when I look at apes and gorillas, seems to me they have a lot more in common than they admit to. Dogs ain't perfect, but I'll tell you one thing where we rule: tolerance. For us, a dog is a dog is a dog. I see a Great Dane, I say howdy. I run into a puggle, it's glad to meet you. How's it going? Smell any good pee lately? Go to a dog park and you'll see. We're all equal opportunity, playful. You sniff my rear, I sniff yours. You don't see that with humans, obviously. Constantly seeing differences where none exist, all those things like skin color, dogs could care less. You think I won't hang with a Dalmatian because he's spotted, or a Shar Pei because she's wrinkled? I'm not saying I love every dog I meet, Snickers comes to mind, but I'll always give a dog the benefit of the doubt. Life is short, play is good, and there are plenty of tennis balls to go around. A very handsome dog. Hi, Aunt Kenyani, Ruby calls. Once again, Ruby, says Kenyani, I am not your aunt. I am a primate, and you, my dear, are not. More's the pity. But if Ivan is my uncle, then you have to be my aunt, Ruby declares. Ahem, says Ivan, pointing to the wall. My painting, Bob? I consider. It looks like a dog? Ruby flaps her ears. I can tell she's trying very hard to stay quiet. A very handsome dog, I add. Is it? It is, Ruby exclaimed. It's you, Uncle Bob. Uncle Ivan told me. But who's that? I ask, pointing to another set of mud strokes. I thought you needed a companion, says Ivan. I know you must get lonely at home by yourself all day. It's true, but I've never mentioned that to Ivan. Guy's like a mind reader. I think Snickers and Bob would make a cute couple, says Ruby. I blink in disbelief. Bite your trunk. Ruby starts to reply, but her voice is drowned out by a sharp clap of thunder. Storm's getting close, says Kenyani. Ivan, dear, come on. You know how you hate the damp. It's true. He carries around old burlap bags so he won't have to sit on wet grass. Ivan looks at me sheepishly. She knows me so well. Kudzu, one of the baby gorillas, bounds over and leaps onto Ivan's back. Ivan loves all the youngsters, but Kudzu is his favorite. I think she reminds him a little of his twin sister Tag, who died when she was still a baby. Ride, Kudzu commands. Julia appears, her backpack at the ready. Bob, she calls, we need to get going. Ride now, Kudzu repeats, yanking one of Ivan's ears. Looks like it's time to go, says Ivan. Good to see you, buddy. Stay dry, okay? Will do, big guy. I turn to Kenyani. Enchanted, as always, my dear. A trumpeting noise cuts through the air. Uh-oh, says Ruby. That's Aunt Akello. Akello, the oldest of the elephant ants, lumbers over. Come on, Ruby, weather's getting bad. Just one more minute, Ruby pleads. Now. But I need to tell Uncle Bob one more riddle. Now, Akello repeats. Nobody ever listens to the littlest elephant, Ruby complains. You can tell me the riddle next time, kiddo, I say, winking at Akello. Ruby brightens. Okay, gotta go, or I'll be in big trouble. Love you, Uncle Bob. See you later, Uncle Ivan and Aunt Kenyani. I'm not your... Kenyani begins, but Ruby is already galloping back to her herd.